I was rejoined from the Mississippi Department of Mental Health, peer support specialist, uh, supervisor of the peer support program. I hope I got your title right. Uh, Haley Reeves, thank you so much for joining us today. We got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson High School. We're recording this for all of our friends in Madison County schools, Madison Central, Rosa Scott, Germantown, Ridgeland High School, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. And we're in the Human Services Career Cluster. So thank you so much for taking some time for us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I am looking forward to speaking with you guys.
All right, so obviously we want to talk about all the things you do at the Department of Mental Health, all the services and all the careers available. But just give us a little background. You're from Flowood, went to Mississippi State, and then just tell us about your college experience and your educational background.
Yeah, so I went to MSU and I got my bachelor's in psychology with a minor in applied behavior analysis. And now I'm going to MSU and receiving my PsyD in clinical psychology.
Awesome. Now, we always hear about degrees in psychology, and all we
Mhm.
think of is what we see on TV as the people talking to the folks sitting on the couch and talking to crazy people. But there is such a need for social workers and psychologists, and it is a very broad field. So, obviously we want to get to the Department of Mental Health, but just the field in general. What are some areas that might need psychologists and social workers and mental health therapists and professional counselors and all the like?
Right. So we're definitely have a need right now in general. We have a shortage of mental health workers, especially psychologists. We definitely need them in the rural areas. There's a need there for it. In the hospitals and the court system, anywhere you think a psychologist or a social worker needs to be, we probably already have a need for it. So,
Yeah, and on top of that, I know there's a shortage for it. So we really, if somebody feels the urge to do this, we can definitely point them in the right direction. But there, with the growing, changing demographics of our community, there's a large need for mental health people that speak Spanish. There's a large need for mental health people that know sign language. There's a large need of mental health people that speak a variety of languages. So we have a lot of first generation Americans in our school district. We have some that may have hearing impaired parents. So, how much is there a need for bilingual and multilingual mental health therapists or just mental health workers across the state?
oh yeah, there definitely is. And I think there's a lot of stigma in mental health in general, but I think there's a lot of misunderstanding already for people that are hard of hearing or deaf community. And I think it's really important that they have their own representation. It's important in general that when you go to a doctor or you go to a psychologist or a therapist, that the person that you're seeing understands you and your special needs, or have the capability of being open and broadening so they can better fit your needs. So I think we definitely need that for sure.
All right, now that was a great segue because you mentioned that. Because people see Department of Mental Health and they automatically think all the people that are getting put in Whitfield and committed there for the rest of their
Right.
life. They think just people that are
Mhm.
going to jump off a building. They think people in
Mhm.
straitjackets. And you're right, especially in rural areas, there has been a stigma on mental health. But uh, the narrative is changing. We've had so many great advances in the last decade. And as far as all the things that Mississippi gets criticized for, now every college campus in the state of Mississippi, every community college campus in the state of Mississippi has free mental health services for all students. So, and a lot of
Yeah.
jobs are providing free mental health services. So, our community has recognized the need for it, and it really is something that anybody can make use of. So, just talk about the Department of Mental Health there in Jackson and some of the things that you guys do that maybe a lot of people aren't aware of, and maybe some areas that kids could find a future career in.
Right. So with the departmental health, we are really over the funds and the grants that the state gets for mental health. So anytime that the federal government provides funds or grants for mental health, we kind of monitor it and maintain it and make sure that the criteria and the thing that what these funds are being used for is for evidence-based practices. It's being used for effective things. People aren't putting it in their pocket. So community mental health centers will use these grants, nonprofits will use these grants. A lot of organizations in the mental health field will rely on these grants and funds, and we're kind of here to be the monitor and to make sure that they're using the money correctly and that it's getting to the people that need it. And you mentioned before that colleges now have resources in free mental health care. Well, one of the grants that we're over actually that SAMHSA, a lot of our grants come from SAMHSA, which is what does it stand for? It's a substance and mental health organization. And one of the grants that we're over is actually with MSU right now, and it's a transitional program, and it's free therapy and mental health and telehealth in person. They have peer support specialists, and it's for I think 16 to 27 or so, or 26, and that's one program that is offered that we help with.
Yeah, and you also mentioned substance abuse because the
Mhm.
substance abuse rehab falls under this umbrella. And
Mhm.
there are so many young people that fall into fall into addiction. Some of their family may have been hit by that. And look, it's important to understand as we keep talking about this that if you're a person that has dealt with substance abuse, if you're a person that's dealt with mental health, that doesn't mean that you're crazy. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that you're evil. It is something that affects so many people. But what you guys do is you provide those resources for people to help get through those times, to people to help kick those addictions. And it's really
Right.
important. We need more substance abuse counselors. We need more alcohol addiction counselors of all of both genders. So it really is something that really needs people that have a heart for helping and are willing to
Mhm.
listen to people and understand where they're coming from. Now, one thing also is you guys do also have people that work in your department that aren't necessarily behavioral health people. You have IT people because you guys have databases. You guys have finance people. So just the Mississippi Department of Human Services is a huge overall department, and then within your own department, it's a huge department. So just talk about some of the other
Yeah.
professionals that help you guys do what you do every day.
Right. Yeah. Oh, and at the Departmental Health, it's some of the most passionate people I know. And we're often behind the scenes. We're not providing the services a lot of the time, but we are making sure that these services are run correctly, and we're kind of the overseer. We want things to be done right in the state and to help the people that need it. And some of the jobs is, like you mentioned, IT, and we definitely rely on them heavily. We also have communication and outreach. They're the ones who are going out and taking the photos and making the newsletters, and we definitely rely on them. It's important that people know what services are provided, and how to reach those services and what's going on in our state and what we're doing to provide help and assistance. And our communication department is a big part of helping us get that information out.
Yeah, and it's also about not only letting people know about the programs, but helping find providers that can be a part of these programs.
Mhm.
You guys are
Yeah.
always recruiting providers. Now, if somebody really wanted to get into this field, you mentioned how you went to Mississippi State. There are great programs in
Mhm.
the state of Mississippi that are adding new types of programs for this to really turn out professionals. Mississippi College, their social work program has turned out some incredible people that have worked with Department of Human Services. Jackson State has the 1 year social work program that is extremely popular for
Mhm.
people to get into the field an extra year. I can't talk an extra year early. So, what are some of the
Yes.
different college programs? Because it's funny because I've been spending all semester talking about so many of these careers don't require a college degree. Well, most of these careers are going to,
Right.
and that's fine because we have some great
Yes.
programs
Yeah.
here in the state. So, what are some of the programs in college that kids could look into if they wanted to get into this type of work?
Right. Yeah. So I can only speak on my experiences really. A lot of my colleagues I do know went to JSU and Mississippi College, especially when you're in the central area. That's where a lot of your social workers and therapists are going to be coming from is JSU and Mississippi College. Um, but with my experience with MSU, they're really trying to make it where they are bridging that gap and they're filling that gap with because we are in need of these mental health providers and professionals. So with my program, I got my bachelor's degree completely online, and it was awesome. And I'm so glad they provided that opportunity. Um, and then with my PsyD right now, it's one of the first hybrid programs to get your doctorate. So I will go to MSU about once a month on a Saturday or Friday, and I'll have in-person classes all day. And then the rest of the time, I'll have Zoom classes for 3 hours in the evening from like 5:30 to 8, maybe once or twice a week. And then the rest of it's independent work that I'm learning. There's about 9 other people in my cohort. So, and we're really close. We have group chats and we do Zoom meetings and catch up once a month. So, yeah, so that's my experience with my program. And they really started this because of the need. We don't have any psychologists really in this state. So, with so many people having families and working and stuff, they were trying to figure out what's a way that we can get people in our programs and with these degrees that doesn't completely, derail their lives and motivates them to become a part of the program. So,
Obviously, yeah. And now they're coming up with some questions to ask me, but one thing I think is just so important to talk about, and it cannot be talked about enough, is we talked about the
Mhm.
stigma of mental health, especially in rural areas, and it's been no secret that the lack of mental health resources for decades was an epidemic, with not just within Mississippi but within the country. But like you said, there's more resources now, there's more opportunities now. Now more than ever, the need for mental health professionals and mental health services has been recognized. And look, I'll be the first person to tell you, we have lost too many young people in the state of Mississippi to mental health crisis because they didn't know where to look. So many times I hear
Right.
people say, look, I'm really depressed. I don't know what to do, but I don't know who to talk to. So now there are resources that are 100% free that young people can use right now if they needed to talk to a professional that can point them in the right direction and maybe um, lead them to some resources that they didn't even know existed. And there's still a plethora of very cheap and free resources throughout the state because the state is seeing the need for this. Programs like yourself have funded these programs through grants, great providers that really have a heart for caring. So, and I'll be the first person to tell you, these kids are getting ready to transition from high school into college into a possible career. So it doesn't matter the gender,
Mhm.
it doesn't matter the age, it doesn't matter the race. Mental health crises are going to hit everyone. So a lot of
Yes.
things are provided now that are 100% free. So just tell us about some of those resources that are free here within Mississippi.
Right, yeah. So, like I was telling you before, the Healthy Transitions program with MSU is completely free. It can be in person or telehealth. And it's the ages, I think, 16 to 26 or so. And they also help these individuals go to school and get careers and be more independent is one of the big goals because that's a very transitional age, like you were saying. These young people are getting ready to go to college, to go start their careers, and it can be stressful. There's a reason why a lot of severe mental illnesses start to develop in the age ranges of about 18 or so. They're going out to college and they're being independent now, and that's a big stressor. You wouldn't think, but it is, and it can. There needs to be some elements in place to help hold their hand and to help them through these transitional. So the healthy transitional program is a really good one. That's completely free. And I think it's awesome. It often offers telehealth. So you can be anywhere in the state and get these services. Community mental health centers offer a lot of services. I know that they have some things set in place for assistance with medication. If you don't have money for medication, I know that there is a grant for that. And they'll typically work with you in some form or fashion or find some grant, usually the community mental health centers. They are a great resource for people that are low income or don't have the resources to pay for mental health care. And there's a lot of nonprofit organizations that you can reach out to. Um, I know Mississippi Harm Reduction is great for if you have substance use issues. There's Teen Challenge for substance use. I have noticed that there is a lot more free resources for substance use issues than there is mental health. So hopefully we'll start being matching up to them. But there definitely is a lot of nonprofit organizations for substance use.
Yeah, and then also, if unfortunately, if you look at young people that have taken their own life in the last decade or so, a lot of them did it when it was the middle of the night. Their parents were asleep. They didn't have anybody to talk
Right,
to. But we now have the resource of
right.
988 that is 24 hours a day,
Yes.
7 days a week, 365 days a year, and it is 100% free. So just talk about
Mhm.
if anybody is in a crisis. And that's for anybody of any age. Just if anybody's in a crisis, how the 988 helpline provides so many great resources at any time to help talk anybody in a mental health crisis and emergency situation.
Yes, 998 is an awesome resource. And you can text the number, you can call them. So if you're not comfortable talking on the phone, you can text them. And they're trained to be able to speak with you and, for this specific age range. And they will connect you with the resources that I was telling you about, like community mental health centers, anything in your local area, they'll connect you. And if you are in crisis, they'll connect you with a mobile crisis team and those are usually at community mental health centers, and they'll come out to your house and help you out. And that's for more dire cases where you are in more of a crisis that they'll send them out for you. But usually they'll connect you to local resources and stuff. So that is a great place and a great number to contact if you don't know where to start, but you just know you really need some help.
Absolutely. Well, I do have some questions from the students, and I'll get to as many of these as I can. This first one is Jacayla Green. She's in ninth grade, one of our cheerleaders here at Velma Jackson. And she asked, what was your main motivation to get into this field?
Yeah, I think I've always wanted to be in this field since I was a teenager. Kind of growing up in Mississippi, in the area I grew up in, I saw a lot of the disparities and the low income and the lack of resources that we had. I saw a lot of my friends with mental health issues, or substance use, and just kind of go down these wrong paths and never had some help, some prior help before it got to the point of no return. And myself, I am struggle with mental health issues, and that's why I'm a peer support specialist. So, certified peer support specialists, they have lived experience with mental health or substance use, and they've recovered, and they are stable in their lives and managing their symptoms, and they're able to help others with that. So working in peer support definitely further cemented for me that this is the field I need to be in. And then I applied for doctorate school, and now I'm stuck with it. This is what I want to do.
That's awesome. I like this one. This is Shateria Hannon, one of our basketball players. And she asked, when you were in high school, did you see yourself being so involved in mental health, or did you have a different career plan?
Yeah, I always kind of knew. And I remember when I was taking that computer class, I don't know if y'all have to do that, but we were taking a computer class and they made us do like a career quiz and see what your personality matches with. And all of it was therapy, psychology, social work. So it's kind of always just been ingrained in me. This is what I'm going to do. I definitely have a passion for helping other people, and I have a passion for the state. I don't think the South is dead. I think that we have a lot of hope and we're going to move forward, and I hope to be a part of that. So,
I like this one. This is Zerial Snow, also one of our cheerleaders. And she asked, do you ever get to a point where you have not been able to help someone? And how does that make you feel if you cannot solve a situation?
yeah, we're not superheroes, and I think that's something I had to accept that I can't fix every situation, and it is disheartening. but I kind of keep a note of it and I'm like, well, this is what needs to be changed in the system, or this is what needs to be done in the future and what I need to advocate for. I'm really involved in advocating. I'm a part of a youth and advisory council, Open Up Mississippi, and it's made up of young people from 14 or 16 to 27. And one of our goals is to break down barriers and stigma for young people in the state. So anytime I come in a situation where I can't help someone, I keep note of it and I advocate for those changes. So the next person with that issue will be helped.
That's awesome. I like this one. This is Callista Brown. She's in ninth grade, and she asked, we've mentioned the mental health disparities across the state. So, what has the department done to address these disparities in mental health care?
Right. Well, I am specifically in the peer and recovery. So I'm mainly over all the peer support specialists in the state. I'm the peer support service project coordinator. So I'm over all the peer support services. So what we've really done is make sure that there's a peer support specialist in every program, make sure we're filling these spots, that every agency and provider has a peer support specialist because it is so important that people who have the lived experience that's been through this have a seat at the table and they have a say on what's going on in our state and in treatment.
Absolutely. Well, I got time for two more. This is Janila Carter, also one of our cheerleaders. I got a lot of cheerleaders in here. And she asked, how do you take care of your own mental health while helping people deal with their mental health?
Yeah, well, I'm a big advocate for therapy. I think everybody should have a therapist. So, I go to therapy. I use the coping skills I learn. I take time to take care of myself, to do my hobbies. I like to garden and read. So, it's so important to take care of yourself because you can't pour from an empty cup. So,
Absolutely. And again, you hear therapy and people automatically think crazy. It is amazing how many
right.
therapists say they have therapists. And it's not
Oh,
because
yeah,
they're
most
crazy,
therapists have
but
a therapist.
they're hit
Hmm.
with so much trauma they have to listen to, they have to
Yeah,
unpack it. So,
right.
again, especially if things are offered for free, everybody needs to take advantage of that. Even if it's just a few times a year.
Mhm.
Sometimes, and I'm not even a mental health expert, and I can tell you sometimes just saying things out loud to a professional can
Yeah.
amazing how much it eases your mind and how much you can really process things just by talking about it. So I encourage everybody, no
Yes.
matter who you are, you know, even if, like I said, if it's just a few times a year, find somebody to talk to that's a professional. It's amazing how much better it's going to make you feel.
Yeah, and well, the main mental health issues that people have is actually depression and anxiety. And that's a lot of it has to do with our mind and our thoughts. So a therapist is definitely helpful with making sure that we're reframing our thoughts to be more positive so we don't have those symptoms of anxiety and depression anymore.
Love it. I got one more. This is Amos Vernado. He's one of our football players. And he asked, what advice would you give someone if they wanted to get into this field after high school?
Yeah, I would. I first went to community college. It's cheaper to do it that way and got all my generals out of the way. And then when I was done with community college, I went off to MSU and got my bachelor's degree. My main really big advice is get involved now, start thinking about your future career and what you can do. There's volunteer opportunities. There's so many different things that you can do um, to have a better application to get into college. And Open Up Mississippi is a great opportunity to do that. Anyone can join as long as you're those ages, 14, 16 or something to 26. And it's awesome. So yeah, definitely building your application, thinking ahead.
Yeah, and for those that are interested in that program at Mississippi State or at Mississippi College, Jackson State, all three of them have great relationships with Hines and Holmes Community College.
Hmm.
I love the billboard that Holmes has, Bulldog for Life, because it has Holmes and Mississippi State.
Hmm.
And Hines even says Stay Maroon that has the eagle and the bull. I just think that's hilarious. But because
Yeah.
that's a real thing because we have a lot of kids that want to get into this field, but they say, I don't think my family can afford to send me to college. Well, go to the community college first. Go ahead and get your feet wet, get
Yeah.
those credits, and those great programs that we just talked about. Love taking transfer students and turning them into mental health professionals. So, really encourage everybody to
I
look into that
do. Yeah.
because, like you said, We need more young people to get into this field, especially ones that have come from underserved areas, especially ones that speak other languages, especially ones that
Mhm.
sign. So it really is so important to think about. Now, we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much for doing this for us, especially on short notice. But a
Yeah.
few things before we go. First of all, tell us one more time about that program you just mentioned, how they can sign up for it, how they can be involved right now. Even if they're not interested in this field, but to be interested in making a difference for anybody that may have a mental health situation here in the state of Mississippi.
Oh, okay. You're talking about Open Up Mississippi?
Yeah, open up. I couldn't remember what it was called. Open up Mississippi. Yes,
Yes, Open Up Mississippi. Well, we have a website. You just go to Open Up Mississippi. It's a Nomni affiliate. We also have a Facebook page. And there'll be a part on the page that says get involved. And you just sign up and you don't have to, I do a lot of speaking. I go to high schools, colleges, and I speak, but you don't have to speak. You can get involved in other ways, going to events, setting up tables, just being involved and a part of these events and these charities and just advocating and speaking out. Yeah, and it's an awesome thing to be a part of, and you make lifelong friends, and it looks great on a resume. Yeah, I would definitely encourage y'all to be a part of Open Up. Even if you're not going to the mental health field, it looks great on an application or resume in
absolutely.
general. Just and you're building skills. One of the main parts of this of the advisory council is building skills and creating young professionals. So,
Absolutely. And again, when kids start applying for scholarships, all those things like that are what these scholarship
mhm,
committees are going to look at. Now, the last thing before we go,
right.
it's like we mentioned, mental health, it's up there with cancer. It is the ultimate equalizer across age, across
Mhm.
socioeconomic status. It affects so many people, and it is not talked about enough. So, as kids get ready to transition, whether they go to the military, whether they go straight to work, whether they go to college, community college, and these mental health obstacles are going to come. I'm telling you, it's not a matter if, it's a matter of when. So, what are the
Right.
main things they can do to prepare themselves as they go into those next steps of life?
Right. Yeah. Well, for one, have a support system. Have someone you can rely on, someone you can talk to. And now that y'all are doing well in your mental health, write down what that looks like for you, right? What does it look like to look well? And then write down what it looks like to not look well. So then you can be more self-aware of yourself. So you know when you start going down to that part of not being well anymore. And you can rely on your support system to help you. And reach out if you're going to college, reach out to your counselors. Just reach out to other people. There's no point of suffering in silence, right? Yeah, situations are only permanent usually if you make it that way, right? You can make it temporary by taking actions and relying on others. Yeah, we're a society. We rely on each other, so there's no shame in it.
Yeah, and I tell you, and quick plug to my friend Dion Walker over at Hines Community College. She's a mental health therapist in their student services at Raymond and in Utica. And she said, look, if you're a student and you just want to talk to, because she'll talk to anybody. She goes, I'll talk to you about something all day long. Just come to my
Mhm.
office and we'll talk about something. So, find those resources. I mean, believe me, if anybody in this world wants to talk to you, she does. And she's right there in Hines Community College and
Right.
loves to work with people and work them through these issues. So again, we thank you so much for joining us. Haley Reeves, peer support specialist with the Mississippi Department of Mental Health. Really good stuff, and we really hope everybody makes the most of the resources. But again, I know you got to get back to work. Thank you for fitting this in your schedule. Haley Reeves, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much.
All right, see you, buddy.